Good day, friends, and welcome back. If this is your first time here, welcome to Ecocentric Homestead. In this video, I thought to show you what is my favorite seed starting supplies so far. I think one of the goals of product designers is to make something more complicated than it needs to be, to make people think they can't do it themselves. In so doing, they make products that really doesn't serve the purpose as well as it should. This being a case in point. There's a couple problems with this. And one, you can see how flexible this is. When you fill this up with soil and you go to lift it up, you have to lift it up just right. You even have to put your hand in underneath, because this will flex and bow on you. When it comes to watering your plants, there's a couple of options you got. You can top water the whole thing. You can leave one empty, so you can pour water down there, and then this one fills up and you wait for it to drain down. You fill it up again, you wait for it to drain down. And you can look down there and see that you've only got like 1/4 of an inch of water, and then you let it all soak up into your other cells. That takes time. Or you can lift up and put one of those watering cans that has the long small spout in underneath, in which case you won't know how much water you have in there. When you take these out, this is even worse. You're trying to hold this steady to get your plugs out and your seedlings to transplant them. You have to squish this to loosen up the soil. And these things are only going to last so long. You can see on some of these, like this one, couple here, they're just about ready to break. Actually, this one is already broken, and that's what will happen with these. They will only last you 2 or 3 seasons, maybe at most. I'm going to use 2 of these to make a template to go on the bottom. That's the size I need. But out of this 1/8" plywood, I can cut that piece out of right there. Just like that. Now these little cups are going in it. So I'm going to want that to go about halfway up the cup, like this. Which the cup is, so it's 1 5/8. So that gives me 1.5. Basically I need something that's going to raise this piece up 3/4 of an inch. While doing other things, I got several pieces that are 3/4 by 3/4. One thing we're forgetting to ensure, yes, that fits right in the bottom. I need to cut them, so 2 at 20, and then there will be 2 that goes in between them, which we will figure out later. We are going to glue these together with one of these glues. Now, of course, I have to wait for that glue to dry. This is the styrofoam one that I did in a earlier video. I'm just going to do a quick run through of this portion now, just shortly. The tool that you're going to use to burn the hole through, it has to be able to go completely through the styrofoam. Because this was a piece that I picked up on the beach and it was actually fairly thick, and I cut this in half, I have a rough surface here. It's not really all that smooth on this side. So I'm going to take the sander and sand it. This is just your ordinary oscillating sander with the 80 grit sandpaper. I don't know if you'll be able to see the difference. Here's the rough side, and then I smooth out on this side. I have them smooth because it's easier when you're putting the soil in to actually rub the soil in and then wipe the excess soil off afterwards. And on the bottom, it'll make a better contact with the watering mat. When you're cutting styrofoam, a pool saw, this is a Japanese pool saw, it cuts on a pool stroke, is much easier to cut styrofoam with than your regular hand saw. Now this is one of the ones I did earlier. And the holes are 1 inch apart, starting a ½ inch in from the edge. So basically, we'd start, like I said, ½ inch in and go 1 1/2, 2 1/2, 3 1/2, 4 1/2, 5 1/2, 6.5, ½ inch in, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. This now is for that, like I said, the size that I put the onions in. And it's just your regular hobby tool, wood burning tool. Of course, that's what happens if you go too close. This is the reason you need to be able to have it go all the way down through. These holes here, they're the ones you need to go in through this side, and of course you need to be able to know where they are, so you can go down exactly where you put down the top hole. But as you've seen in my last video, I was having a little trouble with getting those bead plugs out. I was struggling a bit, and what I need to do now is go down from that end I can't locate the little plug I was using now, but when you get this setup made, you need to be able to easily poke that plug in this side so that you can push out your seedling. I am thinking that depending on the crop you're trying to start, you'll want sometimes a bigger plug, and I think beets might want a bigger plug, so I made this. Once again, I started a ½ inch in. Actually, I did this by centimeters. Started a centimeter and a half, 2 centimeters in, and then I made them 4 centimeters each. I don't need to start 2 centimeters in. I'll just start 1 centimeter in from the edge. And then go 4 centimeters from there. 4, 8, 12, 16. And then I just aim for somewhere in the center of that square. And then move the tool around as I come up to make a wider hole. So if you have any leftover styrofoam, that's basically what you do. And so on. And on the back here, it will be better to widen these out so that you can stick your pinky down through to pop out the plug. These can be various thicknesses depending on what you're trying to grow. Something this thick, if you're starting flowers or something, then that would be plenty of thick. When you're starting root crops on the other end, I have some onions planted in that, and I'll see how they come. but having something thicker like this will give you the root crop more of a root space and less of a transplant shock when you go to transplant them. To fill these up, same as you're filling any of the others, of course, these are really tiny, so getting your fingers in there, I have to use my pinky, but you have to push each one down. And now the deeper these get, the longer it will take, the more times you'll have to actually push it down like this. Now we're doing this on a smooth tabletop so that we can have a better start when we flip over and try to do the other side. Now you can do two things, of course. You can leave it a little down and drop your seed in and then lightly cover them afterwards, or you can just, as I did in the last video, I poked them in with it with these cells really full. And now when you switch to the bottom, you got to turn it over, which this is nice and stiff so you can turn it over, but especially if you're using a watering mat, you need to have all of these down flush to the bottom. So you'll give it one push, then we'll do that. We'll wipe off the top so that we can see where each cell is, and you've got that. It's very easy to carry around wherever, and quite easy to poke the plugs out. Well, the glue is dried. Nice and flat, but I made it a little too long here, so I had to cut that off. Does it fit? Not quite. There. So this cup on top is 40 millimeters wide, and when they set in, they are set side by side, so I need them spaced for the top, not the bottom. Because of the distance, I can start in 1 centimeter from either end. At the crossing of the diagonals, that's where the hole needs to go. I have a hole saw set. Unfortunately, I have this one, and if I make the cut here with this one, the cup will go right down to its top. If I make the cut with this one, it's a little too small. So I will need to make the cut with this one and then widen it out with this. I had to rise it up on a couple of blocks. Don't want to be drilling into my workbench. So as you can see, it just barely fits like that. take this one now. Makes them just wide enough. So that's what I'll do. I'll go through every one of these and make the holes. Now we're back 2 days later. I have all the holes cut. There's 6 across this way and 12 across this way, making 72 in all. And I have this soaked in linseed oil. I can put all my cups in here. Like so, 72 little cups. Now when I put it in the tray, I want to be able to lift it out easily. That's where these dowels will come in. To put a screw in these dowels, you definitely have to make a poly dowel. Straight down there. Where exactly do I want to put them, I guess about right there. Don't need a very long screw for this. Now, see, I can just take these dowels and lift it up. This is the second one I made, so I know it's strong enough. Here's my tray. As you can see, it fits nicely down, and when you get soiling it's even better, but you can carry it and it's not bending on you. So that's very nice. Now what I like about these little cups like this, so let's imagine this piece of plastic here is your plant. You can put your fingers on both sides, turn it upside down, and poke your finger in that hole, and take them out just like transplanting or hot potting a plant. You don't have to squish at this and destroy all the soil that's gathered around the roots. Now for those, this is what cup is. It's a little plastic shot glass. And once again I take my wood burning tool and just right in the center. It's up to you. You can make the hole bigger or smaller. I recommend having the hole big enough that you can use your pinky to push on the soil. That way you don't have to carry around an extra poker to poke the plug out when you're transplanting them. This is the tray that I put the pea shrub and the 3 herbs in the last video. And I need to check to see what has sprouted. But as you can see, when you get the soil in there, this becomes very stiff. And there's your cups. Now to water this, all I need to do is take out 1 cup and pour the water in that hole, and the water quickly fills out the entire bottom of the tray instead of having to wait for it to drain down like I had to in the other style of. And I just put a 1/4 inch in there. I replace my cup and I'm ready to go. And if you've been watching me, you know about my 2-lid container for sprouting seeds. This is the cover to a coffee container. This coffee container. And this is the lid to a margarine container. Either one of these, this is a 3 pound and this is a 2 pound. The margarine container lid fits perfectly inside, a nice snug fit inside the coffee container lid. You can use paper towel or toilet paper, it doesn't really matter. You can use facial tissue. So I've soaked it down with a little spray bottle, and you have to turn this in, because if you have any material, this tissue material hanging out, it will wick the water out of your container and it will dry out really fast. Then you can just lay your seeds out on top of this. Put your margarine container lid on top. And then whether you're going to put it in the fridge or back on the counter, whichever, depending on what seed you got in there. Every day you can just lift the lid and see which ones are sprouted. And they're very easy to pick off. A very big advantage over the bagging method. The other advantage, of course, the bagging method is likely to get thrown in the garbage or recycling when you're done with your seed sprouting for the season. I know some people wash out their baggies, but this is much easier. You could do it with just a regular low container. I don't know how that would work, but I really like this method. That, as I said, is my custom seed starting equipment that I have come up with, that I think will be my favorite from now on. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.